name is Mrs. Njgerian. I'm a lawyer by training and the Executive Director of Crime Victim Foundation, Nigeria. Crime Victim Foundation is a non-governmental organization registered in Nigeria as a company limited by guarantee, mainly to give support to those who become victims of crime and abuse of power. The NGO was set up to give support to those who become victims of crime and abuse of power. And we are also working for policy changes that will benefit the victims of crimes and abuse of power. In addition, also, we train police on human rights and interface it with civilians too, so that there will be an interface where police know about their rights, the civilians know about their rights, and they'll be able to challenge the police where such rights is abused. Services we render to victims are basically, you know that most of our victims come to us through referral from police, from other organizations. So we try to give them support to restore them back to their normal situation before the crime was committed. And we all also know that the way victims of crime are treated, even at the police station, is not proper. So we try to assist them to go through the criminal justice processes. And sometimes we network with other organizations, with other non-governmental organizations, so that when we have cases that are peculiar, because we are like an umbrella, a foundation for victims of crime. Some NGOs are specializes in women issues, in child issues, and so on. But we collectively get reports from victims of crime generally. So because we network with and have relationship with other agencies, we now send some of the cases that we cannot handle to them. But we have trained counselors. We have a lot of volunteers who work with us. A lot of, on the average, we receive, on the average, cases of domestic violence over 15 in 1 week. We receive cases of child victims in 1 week, over 10 in 1 week. We also get cases of rape victims, maybe about 3 or 2 in a month. So all those cases, battered women, people who were not well treated in the police, who were victims at police stations, but they were made to become suspects. So all these people, we try to tend to them, especially the ones that are very related to police. Then in the course of seeing the way police treat victims of crime, we decided to introduce the human rights training, because we brought that training to police as a way of enlightening them on the best way to treat victims of crime humanely and accord them their human rights. We realize that it's not just enough that you deal with victims on an individual basis. We are equally working on policy changes that can also benefit them globally. For example, we are talking about compensation for victims of crime. We are also looking at victims who have a gunshot wound that go to hospital, and the hospital are not able to treat them. Most times you hear the police say, oh, we've given signal, it's not working. So we've moved for policy changes by going to the National Assembly to project the issues concerning victims, so that if it becomes a law, then in that case we'll be forced, we can go to court to action on those issues. So we are also working on policy changes that can benefit the victims of crime in all areas. Anybody who is deprived of his or her rights, he can come to our office. We will take it off from there and try to make sure that their right is given to them. Once we get the report to our office, it could be from the victim, it could be from other referrals. So if anybody whose rights are victimized or deprived can come to our office, and we take up the matter to ensure that the person's right is restored and given back to her or him. Police side, we've trained over 14,000 across Nigeria, from Lagos, from Enugu, from Owerri, from Airport Command, from Railway Command, from the zonal commands. Over 14,000 policemen. From the civilian angle, we've also equally trained over 5,000. We are taking them in groups within their trade union, from town unions, from the poor, people. They just the poor people in Nigeria are the ones who have no access to justice. So we spread our net towards those poor people so as to assist in providing access to justice to them. We train them, we educate them so that they will be able to fight for their rights. Otherwise, they get intimidated. So in terms of number, we've trained quite a number of them. And after training them, it's not just that we end it, because we train the police, we let them know their rights. We train the civilians, we let them know their rights. We interface them, we bring them together for interactive sessions so that each section will be able to know what to do and what not to do. So that people, when you bring them up together at that point, the civilians will ask the police questions, the police will equally ask the civilians questions, and the knowledge will become more equal. So you go to police, if the police say, oh, you say you don't want to talk at police station, the police already know that you are aware that you have a right not to talk, and then they are not going to deprive you of the rights. If they ask you for money for bail, the police already know that there's nowhere in the constitution where they say you have to give money for bail. And if you're a civilian trained to know that you shouldn't do that, you will ask for that right and demand it from the police. And luckily, the Inspector General of Police have already said, don't collect money from anybody for bail. So it makes our work much easier. So, that in that case, we have been able to achieve a lot of results, working closely with the police, with the civilians, and the police are the highest command. Because I think over 120 divisions have human rights desks in Lagos. At the zonal commands, we also have human rights desks. I think across the country, since we started the program in 2006, because we are the first NGO in Nigeria that introduced human rights desk within the police organizations, and over time it has spread across the whole country. But I know that in most states we've been, each time we finish running the program for the police, we introduce the human rights desk and make sure that the people that man the desk are equally trained on human rights. So we have several. It's spread across. So it is a network we use for training the civilians. The education network, when you talk about network, the education network is the network that we set up to make sure that the human rights education we give to people is spread across. So it is a network we use for training the civilians. We train the civilians in one state, we move to another state, we train the trainers, and they keep on spreading it. So the network has spread across to, as we speak now, we are in almost like 7 states, and it's our intention to continue to spread the network the whole country. This is how it works. We finish running one program in Lagos, for example. We may have trained like 200 people. Within the 200 people we train, we get maybe select some few, about 20, and we train them to train the trainers. So they become trainers in the various places where they go to. So the same way we go to Imo State, we go to Abia State, we go to Anambra State, we train. So when we do this, we notice that we are able to spread the message of human rights far and wide without necessarily being there. So we impart the knowledge on group, and they as well go out and spread their own selves and continue running the training. That is what the network is about. If I say how many, I think we have resolved, let me not be too, we have resolved over 500 cases, because most of the cases that come here, even if it's involved in the police, we try to follow the case. Even if it has to go to court, we follow it until we get it resolved. So we've resolved over 500 cases since we started. And as you are here now, you can see that there are over 10 people waiting there that we're attending to their cases. People who need help, first of all, can contact us directly. They can also go through our websites, www.crimevictimsng.org, and they can lodge their complaint through that, or they can also contact us directly. And once we get the complaint, we deal with it. Our services are very confidential and free. Our success stories are many. You can see some of our victims are even staff here. We have some very specific ones, like a child whose father was raping for almost a year. We got the father arrested, and we got the case prosecuted, including taking the child to the hospital. There was another girl who was raped by four young men at the age of 12. We equally dealt with the matter. We got it treated. The girl was finally taken care of through one of our partner, the Lagos State government. We took the matter up to that level. We have some other very glaring cases we cannot mention, but I think we have several success stories. I'm very happy to say that, because when you assist a victim and you're able to get the person to the normal life, especially those who are going through domestic violence cases, it gives me a lot of pleasure that somebody who had been in trauma for years had been reactivated, revived, problem solved, we're able to stop the violence, and the person is happy again. In many cases in homes, we've been able to stop women who have died from domestic violence by getting protection orders and assisting to get child support for their children, and then stopping the violence from happening. So the success stories are many, and it shows from the people, because most of them, when we finish assisting them, to come back to become our volunteers and assist us in helping other people. Internationally, we partner with Victim Support London. We also partner with National Organization of Victim Assistance in the UK, in the USA. We collaborate with United Nations Information Center. We also do get support from some embassies, from USAID, from UNDP, and locally we affiliate ourselves to, we work closely with Ministry of Justice, Lagos State. We also work closely with Njgerian Bar Association, of course, which I'm a member of, and several other NGOs with similar cases, especially those on specialist area, like those who are women, dealing with purely with women victims, those who are dealing with child victims, and other people working collectively in domestic victim-related cases. And we have very cordial working relationship with Nigerian police. It's a very common thing in Nigeria, where people are not vocal like in developed countries. Some people we have been living with domestic violence with their husband and spouses for a very long time without openly coming up to say it. But what I can say to those people is that if you are going through that kind of situation, you can visit our office. We have trained counselors. We are equally trained. We keep every information you give to us very confidential. We can assist anyone who comes to us without disclosing what he doesn't want to be disclosed. So our office is open to such people to bring their matters for us to assist them. That is why we are set up anyway, to help people who need the help. But because we are trained locally and internationally, we can help people and keep their matters as confidential as they want it. There are some cases we resolve instantly, like there are cases that you bring and it needs, what we do is depending on the urgency of a case you bring. If it's a life-threatening matter, we don't wait, we deal with it immediately. But if it is a case that borders with domestic related issues that we can't deal with, it could take as long as 1 week, as long as 1 month, as long as even 2 months. Because sometimes in family related matter, because we have to take care of our social and cultural dynamics in dealing with issues. So some issues where the wife wants to stay in the relationship, it can take so long, because we need to contact the family of the husband, we need to arrange reconciliation meetings, and then sometimes we may need to even get to the police to make sure that we get protection order. So in that kind of case, the first thing we do is to make sure that the victim is safe and secured. Once we ensure the safety of the victim, then if reconciliation is an option, we now take it. So when you have such cases, it can linger up to 1 week, 1 month, 2 months, depending on what it is. But if it's a case that is life-threatening, it doesn't take us more than 2-3 days or a week to resolve it. A life-threatening case must be dealt with at that point of reporting. Thank you very much. I remain Mrs. Gloria Igbuji. Don't forget that we are still here working for the victims of crime and abuse of power. We can empower you and build your capacity to know your human rights, whether you're a police officer, a military officer, a civilian. We remain at your service. Thank you.